Welcome into the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. We are live here on YouTube. Had to rock the Super Bowl shirt today. Just, want to remind people that did happen. So in case any of your Eagles fans want to make you forget, it did happen. Cry Eagles cry. You guys know the drill. But appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on a Monday. We only have, how many Mondays till the draft, producer Sam, who's with us today? Today, and then three more?
Sitting at 3 more Mondays.
Three more Mondays, and then the draft is here, guys. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I can't wait for it, and I hope
it almost feels crazy.
It does.
It's 3.5 weeks left until you're going to find out who the Chiefs drafted at 31 overall.
Yeah, I feel like last year's draft was not a year ago, but that's what happens. Time flies when you're having fun, as they say. Shout out your city. Let us know where you guys are watching from, and we'll get some shout-outs going. Seeing some people chop it up in the comments already. Seeing some hashtag Chiefs in there, too. So if you have any questions, follow Nick and what he's doing there. We got Tony in Dallas, Seneca, Missouri from Tony, Knoxville, Tennessee. What's up, Matt? Kate Chappell in the chat as well. We got Bill Chase and McPherson, Ice Maury, Corona, Kate Chapp, Kansas City, Missouri. Jared Neal says Joplin, Missouri. We got Dip in Florida, Jerome in Longmont, Colorado, Sham McClure in Roanoke, Virginia, Neil Reed in South Carolina. Tony's eating some Whataburger. A little late lunch, Tone? That sounds good.
Elite move.
Elite decision by Tony.
Can't beat Whataburger.
No. Luke in Dayton, Ohio. Jay in Clarkston, Washington. We got David in Tucson, Arizona. What's up, David? One of our producers here is from Tucson. Let's see. Where are you guys watching from? We're here in Dallas, Texas. We got Top Star in Ohio. David in Arizona. Shout out your city. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from here on a Monday. Nick in Rockwell City, Iowa. Jay asking questions. Hashtag Chiefs for your questions here. All right, let's get to the next question here. Who do you want as the Chiefs' backup quarterback? If you think it's Shane Buechele, if you think he can get the job done, type Shane Buechele. But if you want someone else, a draft pick, a trade, we're going to talk about an intriguing trade candidate today. Let me know. Who would you like to see as the backup quarterback? Cam Newton from K Chapel. Hashtag Chiefs. Get those Cam Newton questions in. Let's go.
I don't know what the right word is, but what's your take? Because I was literally sitting here. That was the first name that came to mind. Because he said there's not 32 guys better than him.
Well, he's not going to start here.
He can be QB 33.
Yeah, I don't think the Chiefs will mess with Cam, to be honest. Joe Flacco from Sean McClure. Yes. He is elite, some might say. Will says Cam Newton, so does Kate Chappell. Draft pick from Tony. Lamar would be a hell of a running back. Yeah, I don't think Lamar is going to be a backup quarterback, guys. That's not going to be the case. There's still some guys out there, though. Teddy Bridgewater is available. Kind of surprised he hadn't signed anywhere yet. Some draft guys. Stetson Bennett. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Jake Haener, Max Duggan. Lots of guys out there.
How much do you want
Clayton
Dirty
Tune.
Duggan in Kansas City? Don't lie. No bias.
I'd like to see it. I'll just say this in general for any potential quarterback. I do think you at least need to bring in competition for Buechele. You should not just give him the backup quarterback job. Now, if he wins it, he's been in the system for 2 years. I think he deserves probably the first crack at the backup job, but someone should be brought in to compete, in my opinion. And I do think that will happen, whether it's a free agent, a draft pick, a trade for a backup, something like that. I do think they'll bring someone in, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go to the next move here. Name a wide receiver you want the Chiefs to trade for. Coming up later on in the show, we'll take a look at 5 receivers that Kansas City should trade for. There's obviously been a lot of discussion about that wide receiver position with Juju Smith-Schuster signing with the Patriots. Ice, who's trying to trick me, says D-Hop. K. Chappell, DeAndre Hopkins, top star, says Hop. Corey Davis from Nick, that's an interesting one because there's been chatter he could get moved either during or after the Aaron Rodgers trade. Brandon Ayuk, you almost spelled it, David. It's AIYUK. AIYUK. D-Hop from Tony. Mike Evans from Jay. Interesting you bring him up. Luke says DeAndre Hopkins. He also says Jerry Jeudy. I don't think the Broncos would trade him within the division, especially to the Chiefs. Corey Davis from Fazzy. Let us know who's a receiver. Is Lockett available? I don't know, but Lockett to Kansas City to finish his career would be pretty sweet. Played his college ball at Kansas State, obviously. I'd definitely be open to that. Clyde in a fifth for D-Hop. Maybe. I don't think Clyde adds much, but would the Cardinals take a fifth at this point? Possibly. Allen Robinson, OBJ. Don't have to trade for OBJ, but you can sign him. So, yeah, I do think the Chiefs are going to have to get a receiver at some point. We'll see if they trade for one. If you have a question for me today, hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat. If you Super Chat, you'll be able to skip the line and get your questions asked first. Otherwise, use hashtag Chiefs and ask your questions. Now, if you do hashtag Space Chiefs, it does not work. So, hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat. Get your questions on the show. Like Jared just asked a question about Philip Lindsay. He did it properly. So, hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat. Get those questions in, and we'll be good to go. All right, a couple more here, then we'll get today's show started for real. Which side of the football should Kansas City address with the number 31 pick? You want to go offense or defense? Type O for offense, D for defense. You really could go either way. I mean, I think you could, if you don't sign or trade for a receiver, you could certainly draft one. You could get an edge rusher, defensive tackle. You could get a right tackle if you want to bring in someone that you think is an upgrade or competition for Lucas Niang. So I could really see it either way. This is the live poll question as well. 56% vote offense, so it's a pretty tight poll here. Nick says offense. Dalton says defense. Jeremiah says defense. We got Bill Chase saying defense. T. Green saying defense. So is Tony. Top Star says offense. Tony says defense. Fazzy says offense. Boot says offense. Tony defense. Sammy offense. K. Chappell defense. A pretty split here. 57% in the live poll now say offense. So be fascinating to see what they do. All right, if you're ready for today's show to start, we got to get up to 50 likes on the stream. We only got 19 right now, so almost 100 people watching. So if half the people watching right now like the video, we would get there. So hit that like button. Let's go. Once we cross 50 likes, we'll get into the latest Chiefs news and rumors. So go ahead and like this video. What's up, Sammy?
I think Tom is starting to rub off on me in the wrong way, because as I determined what our number was going to be today, my first thought was 69.
Hey, 69 is more than 50, so
it's a lofty goal, but that's just also the first one I thought of. So I think Tom Downey might be rubbing off on us the wrong way.
Tony has liked it. Yeah, listen, you don't want Downey doing that, but it is what it is. Tony says he's 23 thumbs up. Listen, if I could like it 20 times, I would, but I can only like it once. Let me make sure that we did like it.
We got 10 more likes. 9 if Harrison forgot.
Yep, I did forget. Now we're at 8.
Yes, Ice.
Yes, Ice. We see what you're trying to do. 420 is possible. We don't have enough people watching yet, but hey, if we get enough people watching, it's definitely possible.
If you have 420 friends, you could just send it their way.
Exactly. Just tell them to like the video. Let's see. Jay is asking a question. Dale Webb has liked it. We got to get to 50. We're at 43 right now. This is it. This is the deal. 47 likes. Got to get 3 more. Shout out to Tony and Dale and everybody else who has liked today's show. Let's get to 50, and then we'll jump into the show. There it is, 51 likes. Shout out to the real ones. Here's what's coming up on today's Chiefs Report. The latest news and rumors. Some wide receiver discussion still ongoing as well. 2 mailbags, hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. And speaking of receivers, take a look at 5 wide receivers on the trade block that could be on the trade block that I think Kansas City could explore trading for. So all of that and more is coming up on today's Chiefs Report. Let's go. Hey there, Chiefs Kingdom. Harrison Graham here with another episode of the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. Speaking of the NFL draft, we've been talking about it recently. Draft hats, get them, chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats. All right, let's step into the first rumor here. Allen Robinson. Could Allen Robinson be a trade option for Kansas City? A report that's been out there for a while but was kind of reinforced over the past week or so is that the Rams remain open to trading Robinson this offseason. Bleacher Report linked Kansas City to the Los Angeles receivers. So here's Christopher Knox talking about this, and then we'll react of Bleacher Report. He says, Robinson could serve as a backup plan for the Chiefs if they don't land a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins and can't adequately address the position in the draft. While Robinson has struggled to produce over the past few seasons, he caught 102 passes for 1,250 yards and 6 touchdowns with the Chicago Bears back in 2020. Chicago's head coach in 2020, Matt Nagy, is now the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. Nagy knows how to get the most out of Robinson. So you read that last part, right? And you're thinking, oh, natural connection, Robinson, Nagy. They had some good years together, which they did. Not exactly the natural connection you would think, though. A lot of you know I also cover the Bears here at Chat Sports. Here's the deal. Robinson's last year in Chicago in 2021, also Matt Nagy's last year as the Bears head coach. Kind of had a falling out, Robinson did, with the Bears as a whole, but that included Nagy. He had a career worst season that year at the time. He kind of just got phased out of the offense to a certain extent. Darnell Mooney became the number one option there, and he was like ready to get out of there. So I'm not sure Matt Nagy being this team's offensive coordinator necessarily would lead to A-Rob just wanting to come here. Now, that doesn't mean he wouldn't, but I don't think it's like a bonus bullet point for, oh yeah, if I'm Allen Robinson, yeah, I get to play for Nagy again. I don't necessarily think that's actually the case at all. You look at his last 4 seasons, it is very bizarre. With what's happened with A-Rob here. I mean, in 2019 and 20 with the Bears, probably the 2 best seasons of his career, at least 2 of his top 3. He had a great year in Jacksonville several years ago. You're like, oh my goodness, this guy put up like 2,400 yards, 13 touchdowns on 200 catches over 2 years playing with Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. Then in 2021, he kind of gets phased out of the offense, and you're thinking, oh, well, rookie quarterback Justin Fields, Andy Dalton played some, just kind of a mess, just a down year, right? Not really. He goes to the Rams with Matt Stafford, who I get was banged up at times and was terrible last year, at least statistically. And that really brings you to the question of, is Allen Robinson cooked, or has he been misused with the Rams this past year? Was he misused with the Bears in 2021? It's hard to say. I mean, the last 2 years have been mind-boggling in terms of how much his production has dipped compared to 2020 and before. It really is something. Now, on paper, if you're just throwing names at people, I imagine yourself at the bar and you start throwing out names. Allen Robinson, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, who might be re-signed, even Kadarius Toney. You're thinking, oh, Allen Robinson on paper, that's the biggest name out of all these names. But would he actually be better than a Kadarius Toney, MVS, a Sky Moore? Maybe, maybe not. It's just a tricky one to figure out, and it's especially tricky considering his cap hit's $15.25 million, even if you trade for him. That's not chump change, and especially not for a guy who simply has not played well for 2 years now. That's something you have to consider. Brett Veach is, being careful with where he's allocating money. And do you want to allocate $15+ million on your cap next year for a receiver that has real question marks, albeit talent and experience? I don't know. I like Allen Robinson. When he was at his peak, he was great. He struggles to separate at times now. I don't know. It's a tough one to figure out. What do you guys think? Would you take a chance? Would you trade for Allen Robinson? Type T for trade or P for pass? I think I got to pass with that price tag. I think there's better options out there, and if there aren't, I'd rather go in the draft if I'm being completely honest. T for trade or P for pass. Let's talk about a receiver we've talked about a bunch on this show, but with a new angle, DeAndre Hopkins. Could he get cut? Well, Albert Breer says the Cardinals could end up cutting DeAndre Hopkins, which is pretty mind-blowing to me. Here's what Albert Breer had to say on the Greg Bedard podcast over the weekend. He said some teams think that the Cardinals are going to cut him. They think the Cardinals will wind up cutting him. His market is not great right now. There's nobody who is willing to take on Hopkins' contract and pay the Cardinals' initial asking price. I just can't imagine this scenario. Now, I'm not saying Albert Breer is fake news. I'm sure he's heard from teams that, yeah, we think they might cut him, so we're just going to wait and see what they do. Now, I do think this. I do not think the Cardinals will get a second or whatever they've been asking. I mean, that's been the report, a second and then some, but even a second, I don't think they'll get. Now, Ian Rappaport, right before we went live, did mention on McAfee that he does think Hopkins will get traded, but that the contract will be altered after the trade. And I do think that probably makes sense. Like, if you're Arizona, if you're DeAndre Hopkins, if you don't want to get cut, you probably have to agree to some kind of a restructure contractually. But I still can't imagine him getting cut. Like, he's too good of a player to actually get cut. Like, Allen Robinson getting cut makes way more sense than DeAndre Hopkins. Like, Hopkins is still very good. I get the last 2 years he's only played 10 and 9 games, but Hopkins in 9 games last year had 717 yards. Allen Robinson in 10 games had less than 400. Like, DeAndre Hopkins is still a very, very good player. At absolute worst, he's a high-end number 2. I still think he's a number 1, though, for most teams. That's just my opinion. I get he's 31, but that's not ancient. I still think he's got a few years left in the tank at a very, very high level. Then I'll add this as well. Brandon Cooks, who wasn't exactly making chump change. I get less than DeAndre Hopkins, but yeah, it's not a lot. A 5th and a 6th from Houston, and you see a bit of the salary that Houston probably had to take on there, but I just got to think a team offers a day 3 pick. Like, you're telling me, like, a team like the Giants, for example, hey, we'll give you a 4th-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. Our best receiver right now is Darius Slayton. Like, there's teams out there that I believe would trade for Hopkins. Again, you would have to do some kind of a contractual restructure, and I understand that. And maybe Hopkins isn't willing to budge, which could lead to him getting cut, I suppose. But in terms of just purely thinking about it, like, at worst, this is a top 20 receiver. Like, you can't trade him for anything. I just can't imagine that's the case. I'll tell you what, though. If he gets cut, if I'm Brett Veach, I'm pouncing. I am trying to sign this man right away. Pick a wide receiver. Who would you rather go out and get? Type AR for Allen Robinson, DH for DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going Hop all day long. I think he's a better player. I think he's a better fit. I think he's got more in the tank as well. Chiefs draft hats are available. Mentioned off the top, draft less than a month away, and the draft's coming to Kansas City. So if you want to represent the Chiefs on draft night, get a hat. Chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats. You got different styles, different color schemes, flat bill snapback. You got the curved bill, kind of got the slightly curved bill, fitted, non-fitted. It's all available. Go check it out at the link below. It's in the comments and in the description of this video. Chiefs draft hats, chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats. Pick one up, pick several up, rock those hats for a while. And by the way, it doesn't even have to be a hat only to wear in draft season. Like, you could rock this all year long. These hats are clean. Chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats. All right, this is where we get to the really part of the show. Yeah, really. How about trading for Trey Lance? 49ers appear to be open to trading Lance at this point in time. They haven't really committed to him as being a real option as their starting quarterback. Could the Chiefs buy low on him as a backup? Well, David Latham of Lost Word on Sports, I'll be honest, I haven't heard of these guys before, but Last Word on Sports put out an article and mentioned the Chiefs as a potential fit, and I thought made a somewhat intriguing point. So here's what they had to say. Obviously, Trey Lance is not going to beat out Patrick Mahomes for the starting job. However, due to the lackluster start to his career, there is a real chance that Lance will need to accept life as a backup quarterback. I agree with that. He added this: Kansas City has a great offensive system, but they'd be in a lot of trouble if Mahomes missed any amount of time. With Chad Henne retired, their backup QB is currently Shane Buechele, and that's not a good thing. Lance would be able to keep this offense afloat in a worst-case scenario. Now, let me just say this right off the rip. To even consider this, for me, it's got to be a late pick. I'm talking 5th or later. Like, I'm certainly not trading a 3rd. I don't think I'm trading a 4th. You look at the Chiefs draft picks, maybe that 2nd, 4th round pick I would consider. But even then, it's like a middle round pick for a backup quarterback when you have Patrick Mahomes. I get it. I get it. The Chiefs potentially could be hesitant. Is Shane Buechele ready for this? Like, I don't know. I mean, there's a reason 36, 37-year-old Chad Henne has beaten him out the past couple of years, and they felt more comfortable with him. I would be open to buying low on Trey Lance. I just don't know what the Niners would accept in return. Like, if I'm the Niners, I probably want a day 2 pick. Would he get that? I'm not sure. When he's played, he's been very mediocre, right? 55%, 800 yards. He started 4 games. One of those, to be fair, was in an absolute monsoon, week 1 last year in Chicago, so I won't hold that against him. But he is very raw, guys. I mean, this is a guy who didn't have a ton of college experience. He's not gotten to play in the NFL much because of injuries and other quarterback circumstances in San Francisco, but he is talented. I mean, the guy went number 3 overall. Like, if you could get someone like that for a 5th-round pick to be a high-level backup potentially, it's at least intriguing, but again, I'm not forcing the issue. Like, this has got to be a scenario where it's like the Niners are out of options. They're just trying to move him. Brett Veach, hey, I'll give you a 5th or a 6th. Take him off your hands, and he can come compete with Shane Buechele and probably beat him out. What do you guys think? In that scenario, should the Chiefs trade for Trey Lance? Type Y for yes, type in for no. If it's cheap, I'd be open to it. Otherwise, I can look elsewhere for a backup if Shane Buechele isn't my answer. Get some shout-outs here. What's up, Fazzy? We got Dip saying yes. Finnegan says yes. Gamer Dude says no. Ice says no. Bill Chase, no. Tony, yes. We got Tyler, yes. Yes if cheap from K. Chapel. Gary says yes. Tyler says yes. Nick says yes. Tony Fuentes says no. Again, guys, this would be no threat to Mahomes. I think we all know that. It would just be as a cheap back. Like, ask yourself this: would you trade a 5th-round pick for someone who talent-wise is a clear upgrade from Shane Buechele? And I like Shane Buechele. I think you at least have to be open to that, right? But at the same time, Trey Lance has 3 years left on his rookie deal. That's another thing. You'd have him for 2-3 more years. Probably just 2, because you would decline his 5th-year option. But still, it's intriguing. It's intriguing to say the least. All right, we'll hit these super chats, and then we'll hit them in the mailbag as well. From Ryan, please don't trade for Allen Robinson. He's cooked. Yeah, I tend to not want to go that route. I don't know if he's completely cooked, but if you couldn't convince me that he wasn't either, if that makes sense. Like, I think we'll probably know this year if he's truly done or not. ZEZ, which offensive tackle prospect do you think is a better prospect for the Chiefs, Dawan Jones or Darnell Wright? I think Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright's a really good pass protector. He's more mobile than Dawan Jones, so I would lean Darnell Wright. Dawan Jones is a massive human being, but we also don't have a long history of 6'8", 375-pound dudes having major success in the NFL as offensive linemen. I'm DeBrown, my favorite Chicago Bear. Need you to boost these subs to pass the Bears channel. Listen, 2 big channels here at Chat Sports, but the Bears channel has more subs.
Harry's in our top 5 twice, I believe.
I don't think the Chiefs are quite top 5 because it's I think it goes.
We're letting the Eagles channel
Cowboys,
pass us
Raiders,
still?
Niners, Bears, Eagles, Chiefs. Dolphins are in there too. I think I'm ahead of Dolphins though.
There's no way the Super Bowl champs should be behind the Super Bowl runner-ups. Cry, Eagles, cry.
Listen, man. The kingdom's got to show up.
We'll have to make that. We'll have to change that.
The kingdom's got to show up. Hit that sub button. All right, if you got a question for me to answer, hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. It's hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat to get those questions in. And we will answer as many of them as we possibly can. We'll re-hit some of those Super Chats in this mailbag, and then we will go ahead and get to those hashtag Chiefs ones as well. So here we go. It is mailbag time when Sammy's ready. My
usual weekly guarantee, if you send in a Super Chat, as long as Harrison stops talking when I tell him to, within 60 seconds, we'll get it on the show.
Oh, that's a guarantee from Sam.
Juicy.
That's like when he guarantees a parlay and it doesn't hit, so you never know what you're getting. No, this is a real guarantee.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's act like this one's just a little more secure than my gambling pick.
This is like the Grand Salami. It's a guarantee.
By the way, bet the over in the national championship, just because it's fun.
Okay, hashtag Chiefs Super Chat. You heard the man. If you Super Chat, you'll be on screen within a minute. Welcome into the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. It is mailbag time. Hashtag Chiefs Super Chat. Get those questions on the show. We'll answer as many as we possibly can. But first, subscribe to the channel. Join us every Monday, 4 Eastern, 3 Central Time to get your questions on the show. Link is below to subscribe and support. Let's make it happen. Hit that sub button. Let's go to Ryan here. He says, please don't trade for Allen Robinson. He's cooked. Rumor out there that maybe the Chiefs could be a potential suitor for A-Rob. His cap hits over $15 million. I tend to agree with Ryan. I don't think I would go that route if I was Brett Veach. ZEZ, which offensive tackle prospect do you think is a better prospect for the Chiefs? Dawan Jones or Darnell Wright? I think Darnell Wright, for one, there's not going to be an ego there, I don't think, to want to play left tackle. Not saying there would be with Dawan Jones, but Darnell Wright played right tackle last year at Tennessee, was really good at it. That's the need you have if you're Kansas City, and he's a great pass protector. So I would lean Darnell Wright. Dawan Jones is an intriguing player at 6'8", 6'9", over 370 pounds, but there's not a lot of track record of guys that big making it in the NFL. You got to be mobile as well as an offensive lineman, so I would go Darnell Wright. I'm DeBrown with the Super Chat as well. He said, hey, Kingdom, got to subscribe. Pass our Bears channel at Chat Sports. You heard the man. Hit that sub button. Bears at almost 65,000 subs. We're at about 41,000 and change here on the Chiefs Report. Timmy Turner, I remember you mentioned Willie Gay trade potentially coming. How much would he be worth, and who could be interested? In terms of who could be interested, I'd have to think that over. I know the Giants have been linked to some linebackers this offseason, so maybe that could be a team that makes sense. If they want to add another guy on that defense, teams are always looking for linebackers that can cover, and Willie Gay can do just that. You drafted him in the second. I think you'd probably get like a third or a fourth. I don't think you would get a first. Definitely not a first. I don't think you're going to get a second either. But third or fourth, 1 year left on his rookie deal. If you decide you're not going to extend him after this year, then yeah, I think it could make sense to pull the trigger there. What is your confidence level in the Chiefs' defense next season? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being not at all, 10 being very confident. I'm at like a 7 right now. I need another edge rusher. I think the linebacker crew is pretty good with Bolton, Gay, and Tranquil, and Leo Chenal. Like the secondary as well. I'm at a 7. Let me know what you guys think. Ryan with another super. Whatever happened to Will Fuller and thought of bringing him in for a workout? He must just be done, man. It's kind of weird how there's like no chatter around Will Fuller, right? Like it's very weird. He didn't play at all last season. Did producer Sam remind me if you remember? Did he ever even work out for a team last year? Like we kept hitting it on videos here on the Chiefs Report and other channels, like, oh, bring him in, work him out, see what happens. I don't even remember him working out for anyone, so he might just be done.
So I remember whenever he played for the Dolphins, only played 2 games for them because of a broken hand, and then that
was 2 seasons ago.
Issue, yeah. He entered his paperwork, like his retirement paperwork.
Oh, he
last
did?
off season. Yes,
he's done.
I'm actually Googled it right away. He submitted his retirement paperwork.
Too many injuries, man. I think he's just cooked, man. It's a damn shame because when he was healthy, he was one of the best deep threats in this league. From Nick, if we don't go receiver in the first, what would you think about SMU wide receiver Rashee Rice in the second? I like Rice. I think he's more of a third-round guy. He hasn't had a great pre-draft process. Was just okay at the Senior Bowl, per reports. People with boots on the ground. Didn't wow anyone at the Combine. I think he probably, after the season, was a second-round guy, and I think he's probably settled in as more of a third-round guy. He could go round 2, and the Chiefs have the last pick of the second round, so maybe that's the range for him. But I don't think I would take him in the second round. From Dip4903, how would you feel about drafting Tank Dell later in the draft? Well, he's kind of gone the opposite way. He has shot up boards. Here's a hot take. He could go ahead of Rashee Rice. Don't be surprised. Different type of receiver, obviously. Rice is more of a physical outside guy. Dell's going to be a guy that lines up primarily in the slot as a undersized speedster. But, yeah, I could see Dell sneaking into day 2 somewhere. But, yeah, he's the type of receiver the Chiefs have drafted in the past, so that would not surprise me at all. Ice. Clyde in a 5th for DeAndre Hopkins. I would do it. Would the Cardinals? Maybe. There's a report out there that they could end up cutting him. So I've mentioned Arizona as a team that could use another running back, and Clyde could make sense there. And if they're just trying to get out from Hop's contract, then yeah, maybe that could happen. Paul Lewis, what's the chances we move up to get Jackson Smith and Jigba? It just really depends, right? Like, for the Chiefs to get JSN, he would probably have to fall outside of the top 15 before Brett Veach would kind of get that itch to go move up and get him, right? Like, I don't think they're going to jump into the top 10 to get him, but if 15 comes, 16 goes, 17, 18, maybe the Chiefs start thinking about it, like, is that the range that we're willing to move up to go get him? Maybe it could be. That would be awesome. Like, if he's sitting there at 18, 19, and the Chiefs are interested, go pull the trigger, man. That's a guy that could be a potential number one receiver in this offense. Speaking of the draft, we got Chiefs draft hats available at chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats. Flat bills, snapbacks, curve bills, fitted, non-fitted, red, white, text, logo, elite. Go check it out. chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats. Link is in the description. Link is in the comments of this video. What does that mean? It means you click the link and you go shopping, baby. Go pick one of these puppies up today. Does Nolan Smith go in the first round from Jay? Absolutely. I think his combine solidified him as a round one guy. I'll take it a step further. I'd be surprised if he didn't go top 20. So if you're wanting him in Kansas City, probably got to trade up for him. Is he an ideal fit? He's not the type of edge that Spags has liked in the past. Spags in this 4-3 system, he likes big guys, 260, 270, 6'3", 6'4". Nolan Smith is like 6'2", 238. Doesn't mean he can't play in this system. It just means that would be going against the grain of what this team usually does at that spot. Tony Fuentes, so what's next for free agency as the Chiefs have been quiet? I think the focus has shifted to the draft, and I think that's true for most teams. Doesn't mean they can't make a move in free agency, but I think they're going to focus on the draft and then maybe make a move or two after in free agency. Jared Neal, is OBJ still wanting $14 million? Well, the report late last week was he wants 15. I don't know what's true at this point. I don't think he's getting 15. I think there's a better chance he gets less than 10 than he gets 15 or more. So, I don't know what OBJ is going to settle on. I think the Jets connection is real. I would not be surprised at all if he ended up there. Trade for Rodgers. The Jets will probably cut or trade Corey Davis, go sign OBJ. I think that could definitely happen. Deldrick Smith with a question here. What if we get Damian Williams and Jerick McKinnon with Isaiah Pacheco, two other running backs that won us the Super Bowl? Damian Williams, since he's left Kansas City, really hasn't done much. So I don't have much interest there. Jerick McKinnon, though, yes, I would like to bring him back and pair with Pacheco. I've made that clear. I would then cut or trade Edwards-Helaire, and I would go draft a running back in the late rounds. That would be my 1-2-3 setup. Pacheco, McKinnon, and then a draft pick. Dale Webb Jr., drafted tight end, or are you happy with the ones we have? I am happy with the ones the Chiefs have. You got Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Jody Fortson, and Blake Bell. If you went into week one with those four tight ends on your depth chart, I'd be perfectly content. That being said, that does not mean you should not draft a tight end this year. This is a great tight end class. Kelce's getting older. He'll be 34 next season. So, you could potentially find the long-term Kelce replacement in this draft. That's where the rest of the tight end room is less appealing, right? Like, does anyone think Noah Gray is a long-term tight end one? Jody Fortson? No, they have skill sets as complementary pieces, but you could find a starting level tight end in this draft. And Michael Mayer, the kid out of Darnell, Washington. Sam Laporta is a good player. Musgrave, I like. I know I'm leaving off a couple of guys. Kincaid, I might like the most out of Utah. So yeah, I'm happy with the group. But if you go get one of those dudes, I'm not going to complain. Finnegan Fox, do you think that taking D-Hop is really a good idea? I mean, yeah, as long as you're not overpaying. Right? Like, you might overpay a little on the contract, but if you get him for a middle round pick, this is instantly the second best receiver at worst that Mahomes has ever played with behind Tyreek Hill. Like, think about that, guys. Like, he's an upgrade over Juju, and you just won the Super Bowl with Juju as your top receiver. So, yeah, if you can get him and it doesn't just cripple you financially, then absolutely, I think it's a good idea. Name a free agent you would like to see the Chiefs sign in terms of the guys that are still out there. Odell Beckham's still a free agent. If you want to bring back Jarrett McKinnon, you can do that as well. So drop a name in the comments. Be Brett Veach for the day, and let me know what free agent you would like to get. Tody Smith, does the Chiefs trade up for an offensive tackle? I don't think so. I wouldn't completely rule it out, Tony. Like, if they just love one of these dudes like Broderick Jones or Darnell Wright or something, and, you know, one of them slips a bit and you're like, ooh, man, that guy could really be a long-term option at right tackle, then, yeah, I think it could happen. But I do buy the notion that the Chiefs like Lucas Niang and think he could be a long-term starter there. So I think it's more likely they're patient, maybe take one in the second or third round, Jalen Duncan, someone like that, to compete with Niang. But we'll see. I don't think ruling out that possibility makes sense either. Jay says, could we trade for Darnell Mooney? Darnell Mooney is a really good player. I'll present this scenario, and if you're watching live right now here on Monday when we recorded this, we're going to go through some wide receiver trade targets. I may or may not mention Mooney over there. Stay tuned. It's what we call a tease in the biz. But the reason this could happen is the Bears have DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, and Chase Claypool. But if they draft Jackson Smith-Njigba, a player they reportedly really like in the draft, then someone's the odd man out, most likely. Sure, they could keep all four. I don't think that makes sense, though. And to me, that's either Mooney or Claypool, because you just traded for DJ Moore, and then you would have drafted JSN. So, and you traded for Claypool last year. You're going to dump him already? Mooney could be the odd man out. Maybe he becomes available for a team like the Chiefs. Jake Lehman, what are some of the plug-and-play left tackles we could draft and then shift Jawan Taylor back to right tackle? Well, a couple things. Let me just say this first. They paid Jawan Taylor left tackle money. That doesn't mean they have to play him at left tackle, but I'm guessing when they signed him, they were like, hey, we're giving you $80 million. You're going to be our left tackle. And he was like, sweet, I'm in. You know, if he's open to going back to right tackle, and maybe he could be, right? Like, he already got his money. Like, he got his left tackle money. Who cares what position he plays? But you know, maybe he really wants to play left tackle. But if he's open to moving back, then the guys you could go get Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. He's a stud. Broderick Jones out of Georgia. He's a stud. I still like Peter Skoronski, even though his arms are a little bit shorter. Some scouts think he'll kick inside in the NFL, and he might. But those are a few names to monitor as potential left tackle options. All right, name a wide receiver you want the Chiefs to trade for. Let's go. We're going to take a look at some wide receiver trade targets.
And just wanted to remind people, we will have another mailbag at the end of the show today. Usually we only have one. Today we're going to go ahead and have two. So if you didn't get your question answered,
still time.
Don't be panicked or upset or anything. I've got a few of them already in the queue.
There you go.
Or the quay, sorry.
The quay, exactly. Some NFL news. Former Seahawks defensive tackle Al Woods visiting the Browns and Jets. So you got that going on. Yo? No? No. I have two more cuts.
Tom declared a super chat war
today? I mean, yeah, it's not gonna. Yeah, I would have had for this show. I would have had to plan heavily for that. I would say we could do it next week though, or yeah, we'll talk about it later. All right, Marshall Green trying to throw me off my game here. Name a receiver you want the Chiefs to trade for.
I call that the Raiders Report special, just asking for something in the middle of the show and just expecting it to happen.
Exactly. Glow says Ayuk. Franco says Justin Jefferson. Shad Jameson says Stephon Diggs. Gabriel Davis, that's actually an interesting name. There were some deep rumors that the Bills could be open to moving him. So Justin Jefferson, I mean, yeah, wouldn't everybody like to trade for Justin Jefferson? I
would also like to trade for CeeDee Lamb and Devontae Adams and Jamar Chase.
The other 31 teams would also like Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
He is not available.
That'd be great. Name your price, Harrison. Hold on.
600 first-round picks.
Never say never. It's the business of the NFL.
In all honesty, we've had this talk before. I'm not joking. If a team was able – so let me just first present this to you guys. You could only trade – 3 of your own first-round picks at a time. But, if you get other firsts from other teams by shipping out, whatever. Let's just say, hypothetically, a team came up with 10 first-round picks and offered that to the Chiefs. I still think they say no. Like, I
think
don't.
So too.
There is not a price that Veach would trade Mahomes for. There just isn't. I wouldn't do it for 20.
You're correct. I wouldn't.
You're not.
It's the we're not shopping him. We'll listen. We'll just laugh in your face afterwards after you propose whatever you propose.
And it's not even just because from a football standpoint. Like, that's obviously a big part of it. But, like, this guy brings you so much money as a franchise.
Yeah.
Like, there's no capital that could replicate what he brings.
Imagine trading LeBron James.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially the face of this generation of football.
Especially when he was 27.
Yeah.
like now you could almost see, like, if he just wanted out of LA, like, you'd be like, okay, like, that might be different. But yeah, there's just no chance, and there's no price tag that would be enough to make that happen. All right, guys, wide receiver trade targets coming up, and another mailbag later. So use hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat. We'll do it all coming up here on the Chiefs Report. What's up? Welcome in. Harrison Graham here from the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. And coming up on today's show, 5 wide receivers the Kansas City Chiefs could trade for this offseason. Maybe it's before the draft. Maybe it's after. Could just depend on the situation. Obviously, the Chiefs at wide receiver. I like the trio of Tony, MVS, or Sky Moore. But to me, you don't have a true number one. Doesn't mean you have to trade for a true number one, but I do want to throw that out there. And I would just like to add another guy to this group. I do think Justin Watson will be back in the fold, but I think adding someone else makes sense at some point this offseason. Maybe they draft a guy, but I do think there's some interesting names that could be available on the trade block. All right, guys, let's get to 42,000 subscribers by the NFL draft. We're currently at 41,202. Need 798 more. I've told you as well, if we get to 42,000 before the draft, we will do a live fan-led mock draft. So spread the word. Let's get to 42K. Then we'll do a live fan-led mock where you guys make all of the picks on a live mock draft. So let's make it happen. Go ahead and subscribe. All right, let's get to some Chiefs trade targets here. We'll first look here at DeAndre Hopkins, who remains available on the trade market. The Cardinals have even allowed him to communicate with other teams. But the bottom line is teams are not reaching the Cardinals' price per reports, which that initial price has been a second-round pick and then some. I'll be honest, I don't think a team will trade just a second-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. Now, let me be clear. I am still very interested in the Cardinals wide receiver. 31's not too old for me. He would be an upgrade over Juju Smith-Schuster, who was your number one last year. And, hey, props to Juju. Had a great year. Got a decent little contract with New England. I got no beef issue with that whatsoever. But Hop, fully healthy, is simply a better player right now, and I think could be for the next few years. I know the last couple of years have not gone the way he's wanted them to, but it's not due to a lack of ability. Like, this isn't Allen Robinson falling off a cliff production-wise. Had some injury stuff in 21 and then had the suspension for 6 games to start 2022. Otherwise, if he played all 17 this year, he probably would have had 1,300 yards. So that's just the reality of that situation. Here's my updated trade idea. Last week, I did a 3rd-round pick. Now I'm dropping it to a 4th because there's reports out there that some teams believe that the Cardinals could just end up cutting bait with Hopkins. I'd still throw a 4th. Rework the contract. Hopkins may have to work with these teams a bit and take a bit of a pay cut, but, if he can control where he goes and Arizona still gets a draft pick, I think it makes sense. I would certainly pull the trigger on this trade if I was Brett Veach. Next up is, I'll admit, the ultimate go for broke out there idea. Stephon Diggs wiped his Instagram of Bills-related posts, which has led to some trade speculation. And then he really just added fuel to the fire of this tweet, "Come and rescue me." Now, it was on April 1st. April Fools, who knows? Him and Trayvon Diggs were having fun on social media, his brother. But he did express frustration after the Bills lost to the Bengals in the playoffs of like, why can't we get over the hump? Why can't we get this done? I don't understand. Maybe there is some frustration there for Stephon Diggs, who's just a stud player. I mean, look at these numbers. He's been unbelievable, especially the last 3 years joining Buffalo with Josh Allen. Obviously, assumed he could replicate that success with Patrick Mahomes. He's an unbelievable player. All of that being said, let's be honest and live in reality here. There is a less than 1% chance that the Buffalo Bills would trade Stephon Diggs to Kansas City. It's their biggest competition right now. Like, the Chiefs are the team they can't get past, and everybody salivates the last couple of years. Oh, Buffalo won't beat Kansas City in the regular season. Yeah, they have not been able to do it in the playoffs, okay? They got embarrassed by Cincinnati in the playoffs this past year. Like, Kansas City is the team to beat in the AFC, and if you're Buffalo, you cannot trade your top weapon to the Chiefs. I mean, you are just signaling your death wish there. Like, you're done if you do that. So I don't think there's any scenario. Now, hey, if you're Brett Veach, there's no harm in making a phone call, right? Like, you never know what a situation could be, but it would cost an arm and a leg, and I still think Buffalo would probably put up the bird to Brett Veach. How much would you trade to get Stephon Diggs? I mean, I would do the A.J. Brown trade, a first and a third. I think Buffalo says F you, but hey, again, there's no harm in calling. Let's live in reality. I don't think there's any chance, but just thought I would mention it since there has been some speculation. Perhaps a more realistic option if a couple of dominoes fall a certain way. That's Darnell Mooney with the Chicago Bears. There's a lot of chatter right now that the Bears really like Jackson Smith-Njigba, the Ohio State wide receiver. If they draft him, that kind of creates a scenario where there could be an odd man out. Let me explain. You look at the depth chart in Chicago right now. DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool. Really solid trio on paper, right? Well, what if you add Jackson Smith-Njigba to that? Claypool or Mooney becomes your wide receiver 4, at least on paper. You're not drafting JSN in the first round to be a 4. You also have Velus Jones, who you drafted last year. Equinemius St. Brown, he's on a cheap deal, so you could cut him, but that's a player they like as well. I think Mooney or Claypool, as each are entering the final year of their rookie contract, would probably be on the trade block, and it could be Darnell Mooney because the Bears traded for Chase Claypool last offseason and may not be ready to move on from that already. Now, you look at Darnell Mooney's career, rookie year, solid as a fifth-round player. Second year, had a breakout year. Last year, started slow but was picking it up, and then he got hurt. He's a good player, and it is intriguing that his best season in 2021 was under Matt Nagy, who is now the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. He unseated Allen Robinson as the Bears' number 1 that year. Darnell Mooney did. So you've got that going on. A lot of things have to happen. Bears would probably have to take a receiver very early, like a JSN in the draft, but if they do not be surprised if Chicago shops either Darnell Mooney or Chase Claypool. Now, speaking of the NFL draft, do you love the NFL draft? If you do, subscribe to our draft-only YouTube channel today. The link is down below. It's youtube.com/chatnfl. More and more videos going up over there. I've put a couple of Chiefs draft videos up on that channel as well. Go check that out. If you're just a draft junkie and can't get enough mock draft rumors, news, prospect breakdowns, we do it all over there, youtube.com/chatnfl. Okay, let's go to the next receiver here. That is Mike Evans, who has just 1 year left on his contract. He's about 30 now, and the Bucs are kind of in a spot where they haven't committed to a full rebuild this offseason, but they've definitely been willing to move on from certain pieces, and maybe Mike Evans is a player where they're like, okay, we really like him. He's a damn good player, but he's 30 now, last year of his deal. Are we really going to sign him to another big deal? Maybe not, because their quarterback situation is muddy at best right now. You look at Evans' past 4 seasons, really consistent, right? He's pretty much 1,100 yards and like 10 touchdowns on average. That's kind of what he does. He's been really good. He's 6'5", 240, can stretch the field vertically. Mahomes has never really played with a receiver like that is big, fast, and strong. And he's pretty cost-friendly. $14.5 million is his cap hit if you trade for him. You compare that to like Allen Robinson, who the Rams have been shopping, $15.25 million. Evans is a much better player right now than Allen Robinson. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So this is the type of move I'd be interested in. You might be able to get him without getting up a first, although I'd still probably consider trading 31 for him. Let's go to Brandon Ayuk now, the last player that we're going to talk about when it comes to Chiefs wide receiver trade targets. The 49ers, according to reports, have taken calls about Ayuk. He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal. We've talked about this in a couple other videos. And look, I'll just kind of reiterate what I've said on those videos here today. he's an underrated player, like really underrated. I don't think Ayuk gets enough love when we talk about these great young receivers in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying he's Justin Jefferson or something, Jamar Chase or something like that, but you look at his rise in San Francisco, and the guy just gets better every year, right? I mean, he had 768 and 5 touchdowns as a rook, 826 and 5 touchdowns in his second year, and this year, as a pure receiver, had a better season than his teammate Deebo Samuel. 78 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He's a nasty route runner, consistently gets open. I would trade 31 for Ayuk. And there's some real concern among in San Francisco that, we may not be able to pay Ayuk the type of contract he wants. Well, you could bring him in now if San Francisco is open to it, if you give them the right trade. 2 years left in his rookie deal, then you figure it out down the road if you want to extend him or not. But you would have him for 2 years at cost control price. So, I would definitely be interested in doing just that. All right, so pick a receiver. We talked about 5 of them here on today's show. If you want DeAndre Hopkins, type 1. If you want Stephon Diggs, type 2. Let's be honest, that one's not going to happen. But hey, if you want them. Darnell Mooney, type 3. If you want Mike Evans, type 4. Or if you want Brandon Ayuk, type 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me know which receiver you would like to see in Kansas City. Now hit that subscribe button here on the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. We continue to grow here on a daily basis, trying to get to 42,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Join the rocket ship, join the movement, trying to grow this channel as much as possible before the NFL draft. So appreciate the support. Hit that sub button. All right, we'll get some shout-outs here. We got Angelo says 2. Christopher says 1. Finnegan 1. Cordarius, says 4 or 5. Glow King says 5 or 3. That would be Ayuk or Mooney. 2 from S Bros. Angelo says 4, 5, 3. Cordarius, what's up? I'm shouting you out. Ruthless says 2 or 5. Paul Amos says 1. Ice says 1 or 4. Espro says 2. Gabriel Gonzalez says 2. 1 or 5 from LBK. Hey, we got you, man.
You want my hot take?
Yep.
Of the day? Of this list, I'm going with Brandon Ayuk, hands down, without even thinking.
I don't know if that's a hot take. He's young. He's got 2 years left on a rookie deal.
I was sitting here kind of looking at it. It's, you're classifying it into younger guys, Ayuk, Mooney, and more grizzled vets in the other 3. If I'm picking one of the young guys, I'm picking Ayuk over Mooney.
Yeah.
Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, like you said, not happening.
Diggs ain't happening.
And if I'm picking one of Hopkins or Mike Evans, I personally still lean Hopkins just because of the high-end talent that he has. But, man, if I'm choosing between Hopkins and Ayuk, just because you have the chance to extend Ayuk and he's younger and the ceiling is that of a D-Hop in terms of production, I feel like you got to go with him.
I think Hopkins is the most gettable out of this list. Diggs is not going to happen. Mooney, that only happens potentially if they draft a receiver early. But yeah, I mean, look, the Niners said they're not going to trade Ayuk right now, but like if you give them a good offer and they don't think they can budget for him, they might just think, hey, we'll take your first-round pick and we'll try and draft our next Brandon.
They have a lot of players to pay. The Niners they're very top-heavy. Yeah. Nick Bosa contract is coming up.
Yeah.
Whoever their quarterback is going to wind up getting paid. Both those guys currently are on a rookie contract.
Well, yeah, and the reason they've been able to kind of swing for these other big contracts is because they haven't had that high-priced quarterback. Like eventually they're going to, I think. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're the team that kind of just continues to, we've kind of joked in the office before, which team is just going to continue to shuffle out cheap rookie quarterbacks? Maybe the Niners are kind of entering that accidentally. I don't know.
This year's time is a flat circle moment. The 49ers draft Stetson Bennett in the 7th round. Trey Lance goes down early in the season. Brock Purdy goes down early in the season.
Purdy's not ready to
Stetson
play.
Bennett leads the Niners to a 7-1 record and an NFC championship appearance. And we're talking about this all over again next offseason.
I mean, let's be honest. Would anyone be shocked if Sam Darnold at least played decent in that system? Like, I don't think he's going to look great, but, I mean, you don't have to do that much.
It's funny to me sometimes how the narrative changes when players join or like switch to a different team to a specific coach or something.
Exactly. Like I don't
Shanahan
think
is now Shanahan has fallen under the category of those guys of, well, he can certainly fix this guy or at least make him halfway decent.
What's funny about the Shanahan thing is he is shown to take very unknowns and make them serviceable or more. But can he make a good quarterback elite? Matt Ryan's best year was under Shanahan, but I would like to see him with the franchise guy for extended time. We really have not seen that.
The pairing, I just need to see in my life. It won't happen. But I just want to see him fix Zach Wilson and whatever the hell is wrong with him.
I mean, would we be shocked if next offseason Zach Wilson is a 49er? I mean, it's kind of like Darnold being there this year.
I'm not going to put it past him at this point, honestly.
Oh, man.
They were rumored to be interested in Baker.
Yeah, exactly. Zach Wilson, you are a 2025 49er. All right, one more mailbag here.
Again, definitely not a 2025 Jet.
Exactly. Super chat if you want to skip the line. Otherwise, use hashtag Chiefs. Get your questions in on the show. We'll answer as many of them as we possibly can. Hashtag Chiefs or super chat. Get those questions in, and let's play some ball here on the Chiefs Report. What up, Harrison Graham here with another mailbag video for you guys. Hashtag Chiefs, super chat. Get those questions in, draft, free agency, trades, whatever you got. Throw it my way here on today's show. We got Ruthless Monk kicking things off here. Would you be open to trading for Vikings defensive end Danielle Hunter, or is he too expensive? Danielle Hunter is a very good player. We've talked about him before. I think he'd be probably this team's top edge rusher. You pair him with Karlaftis, and then Charles Omenihu becomes more of like a fifth defensive lineman that can rotate in at edge and three tech. I'd be open to it. I don't know how much it would cost in draft capital, maybe like a second round pick, but I do think the Chiefs could absorb his salary. Mr. Anderson with the super chat, shout out to you. Do you think Mahomes might get annoyed by Veach going cheap, considering Mahomes took a team-friendly deal to free up money? How long before Mahomes gets tired of playing hero ball and wants more help? I don't think Mahomes has that attitude at all. I mean, he's playing with the greatest tight end in NFL history. Brett Veach has not been cheap on the offensive line, especially since the Super Bowl. I mean, you think about the contracts Brett Veach has handed out since the Super Bowl, and just the moves, too. He trades for Orlando Brown, who was here for 2 years. He tried to pay him, and Brown just wouldn't take the deal last year. He gave Joe Thuney $80 million. He drafted Creed Humphrey early in the draft. He's going to pay him almost certainly. He just gave Jawan Taylor $80 million. So I don't think he's gone cheap. You could say trading Tyreek Hill and going cheap at receiver recently, but you traded for Kadarius Toney in the middle of the year to get another weapon. I think the Chiefs have done a lot to build around Patrick. He drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round because that was a player Mahomes was interested in. So I don't think that narrative is real at all. In fact, I haven't really heard that narrative until just now. E from Entourage, great show. Average character. Actually, I like E. He's solid. He's better than Vince. Listen, before we answer this question, Vince in Entourage, I've said this a million times with friends, it's the only great TV show that the main character is like the worst character out of the main characters. Who's better? Who's worse than Vince out of the main characters? Ari, way better. Johnny Drama, not even close. E, he's not great, but he's better than Vince. Turtle, way better. It's just facts. All right, anyway, off my soapbox. He says, any Chiefs trade targets you'd really want if the number 31 pick had to be included? I would trade 31 for Ayuk, Brandon Ayuk. I would. Ayuk went in the 20s. I mean, you'd be paying less than where he was drafted, and he's produced. So, yeah, I would trade 31 for Ayuk. Absolutely. I would certainly consider doing that. Now, which side of the football should Kansas City address with that number 31 pick? Type O for offense or D for defense. Let me know in the comment section below. Vote on the live poll if you're watching live. Pin comment on today's video, so if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, O for offense or D for defense. Shad Jamison, who is going to be the odd man out in the linebacker rotation? Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Leo Chenal, or Drew Tranquill? Out of that, I'd have to go Chenal. Now, I think they're probably going to use Chenal in blitz packages because he did a lot of that at Wisconsin. But they drafted Tranquil to play. There's no doubt about or they signed him to play. There's no doubt about it. That's why I've kind of speculated, could they trade Willie Gay, who's in the last year of his rookie deal? I wouldn't rule that out. But I would rank the linebacker room like this right now. Bolton, Gay, Tranquil, but Gay and Tranquil, that's very close, 2 and 3, and then Chenault at 4. Ice, do you think we will re-sign Dunlap? If you can get Carlos Dunlap at a vet minimum deal or just slightly beyond that pay scale, I would absolutely bring him back. He had 4 sacks last year. I think as a rotation vet, he knows his role. 1 year, $3 million to bring back Carlos Dunlap, give you 4 or 5 sacks. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Harvey Dent, trade Jones for 2 ones and free up some cap space and rebuild that defensive front. What's your thoughts, Harrison? Look, let me make this clear. I would not trade Chris Jones. I will say this, though. I would have said the same thing about Tyreek Hill last year. I said it when it happened, that it was a mistake. It was not a mistake. I was proven wrong. Here are the reasons I wouldn't completely dismiss this idea. Chris Jones is 29 years old. Chris Jones is going to want probably $25 million per year. You've got a lot of big contracts on your books. If you could actually get 2 first-round picks, do you at least answer the phone? I do think you answer the phone. Am I looking to trade Chris Jones? No, but if a team gives me an insane offer, would I be open to it? Great general managers are open to everything. Doesn't mean you accept that offer, but yeah, I mean, I would not completely rule it out. I don't think it'll happen. Jones wants to be here for his entire career. I want that to be the case. But we saw it with Tyreek Hill. I think once that happened, that proved that anything could happen. Harvey followed up, said, just want to shout you out for being the MVP on this channel. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate that, Harvey. Shout out to the real ones like Harvey and everybody else here at the Chiefs Report. That includes all of our subscribers. If you want to join the movement, if you want to become a real one, hit that sub button. It's 100% free. We're trying to get to 42,000 subscribers before the NFL draft. Appreciate all the support so far. Let's continue to grow this and shoot for the moon. From Nick, what would you think about a Corey Davis trade? I think he could be interesting with Mahomes. I like Davis. I think he makes over $10 million. I'd almost wonder to see if he would get cut first. There's been some chatter around that. But I like Corey Davis. He's a good player. I think he would fit well here. Hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat. We got LBK saying, where would you think we need the most help at? I think wide receiver, defensive line. Those are 2 positions I'm looking at. Dale Webb Jr., what are the chances that Frank Clark comes back on a team-friendly deal? Can't rule it out. Longer this goes, better chances it is. In that scenario, I think it would be a very cheap contract, but listen, if the market doesn't formulate for Clark, then you can't rule out a reunion. Braden Perez, will D-Hop get cut, and do the Chiefs have a better chance of getting him or trading, or if he's cut? Well, they have a better chance if they trade for him because that's completely in their control. If they tried to sign him after getting cut, they'll have to compete with other teams because if he gets cut, about a dozen teams are going to try to sign him pretty quickly. So you can count on that. So if they want to guarantee getting him, trading him is really the only way to do that. But you could also get him for cheaper and for not sending a draft pick if you do sign him. Angelo Gurley, is the Chiefs offense going to keep Justin Watson? I hope so, Angelo. I think Justin Watson's a solid player. He's a perfect number 5 receiver. You know why? Because he's reliable. He runs good routes. He has good hands. And he's a good special teams player. He can be a returner. He can be a gunner. So I like Justin Watson. He's a team player. I think that was a great find last year by Brett Veach. Mahomes loves him. So, yeah, I would bring him back as my 5th wide receiver behind Tony MVS and Sky Moore. And then you find that other guy near the top of that depth chart, and you're good to go. Mr. Anderson with another super chat. Shout out to you. Is the Chiefs linebacker core top 3 to 5 in the league? Could be, man. Nick Bolton's a stud. He was so good in the Super Bowl. Willie Gay, when he's dialed in, he's really good. Great in coverage. Tranquil's a stud player. I've always liked him, watching him with the Chargers. You got him on board. I think Chenault had moments last year. I also am a big fan of I'm completely banking on his name all of a sudden. He's number 47. That's a damn shame. When he's rotated in, he's done some good things. But the Chiefs have some good players, man. They really, really do. It's Darius something. Why am I drawing a blank here? This is going to kill me. Chiefs roster. Give me a second here, guys. Darius Harris. Thank you, producer Sam. Darius Harris is a good player, too. I mean, you got 5 good backers. It's a solid group. Will the Chiefs win back-to-back Super Bowls? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Is another Lombardi trophy coming to Kansas City? I hope so. Let me know what you guys think. Y for yes, N for no. Will the Chiefs get back to the Super Bowl and win it? Ruthless Monk, we got a couple more here. Would you draft A.T. Perry or Michael Wilson? I'd rather have Perry. I think his ceiling's higher, 6'5", runs pretty well, good speed, can go track the football. Michael Wilson's kind of a deep sleeper in this draft, the receiver out of Stanford, but I would lean A.T. Perry. Jared Neal, maybe T. Higgins should have drafted him instead of Edwards-Helaire. Listen, all GMs miss. That's the reality. T. Higgins is kind of in the Stephon Diggs category of even if they trade him, which is unlikely, the chances of them trading him to the Chiefs are slim to none, like almost no chance. So, yeah, I could mention him in wide receiver trade ideas, but Cincinnati's not giving the Chiefs another big-time weapon. Gator, do we draft an offensive tackle in the first round if we pick up a receiver before then? I think it's possible. I don't think it's guaranteed. You could go defense. The Chiefs can be flexible. They're in such good shape roster-wise. They can go in a few different areas. But, yeah, I would not dismiss the possibility. Logan Owens, do you think we possibly could still get Derrick Henry? I mean, it's not – you could. Do I think the Chiefs will? No. I think Pacheco has proven he could be a starter. I still think Jarrett McKinnon ends up back here. Unless he signs elsewhere, like until that happens, I'm going to assume he's coming back here because we saw him re-sign with the Chiefs late last offseason. I think that could happen again. So I don't think Derrick Henry comes here. Agent Naha, do you think Patrick Mahomes will play out his career in Kansas City? I do. You can never say never. We saw Tom Brady leave New England. So, if he's 40, 41 and wants to play another year or two and the Chiefs are ready to move on by then, maybe. But he'll always be a Chief. Even in that slim scenario where that happens, like, this is always going to be his squad. I don't see him playing elsewhere. Can't rule it out. We've seen legends do it before, but I would put it at about 90% chance. ZEZ with the super chat, and listen, ZEZ, that's you might have won the spelling bee at my school when I was growing up. Felix Edidike Uzoma or Aditamiwa Adibawari, 2 elite names, 2 really good players. I think Adibawari's ceiling is higher. I think Edidike Uzoma's floor is higher. So I think he's the safer pick. I think Adibawari has more flexibility. He can kick inside, play defensive tackle. He's a better athlete, but Edidike Uzoma is more polished right now. So, it's kind of pick your flavor, right? Do you want to guarantee yourself a B or do you want to go for the A+? It's your call. Tony Fuentes, look, I like Mahomes, but I do think the main reason Tyreek Hill, Tyrann Mathieu was because Patrick takes all the money, in other words, gets paid the most. Frankly, I love how this team has turned out. Are you saying why those guys left? I actually disagree, Tony. Mahomes' contract is very team-friendly. Him doing a 10, 12-year deal compared to these other QBs who do 4 and 5 years and then get paid again, the cap keeps going up. So that's benefiting the Chiefs greatly. I think people get caught up on the $500 million, but it's actually very team-friendly for how good Mahomes is. Having that many years on it, too, allows the Chiefs to restructure his contract year in and year out if they want to. So, I actually got to dispel that point. Chad Jameson, how would you feel if Michael Dana is one of the Chiefs' starting defensive ends? I'd be okay with it. I don't think that's the case. I think Amenahue and Karlaftis would be your starters right now. Maybe not, but they paid Amenahue $10 million per year, and Karlaftis was a starter by the end of last year. So I think Dana has proven he's good in that rotation role. Do you want to give him a bigger role? I don't know. I would keep him in that rotation role. All right, guys, before we sign off, get some shout-outs here. Will the Chiefs win back-to-back Super Bowls? Type Y for yes and for no. Y for yes and for no. Finnegan says yes. Dale says yes. Anthony, ZEZ saying yes. Jim Tanner, Tony saying yes. Martin says yes. Agent Naha, Bo, Altavian, Daniel, Terry, Tony all saying yes. Yano Shi says yes. Gator, yes. Who you got tonight? National championship. I think UConn wins. I think San Diego State will play them better than other teams have because they're very good defensively. I don't think they can score enough points to beat UConn, though.
The correct answer is the over.
What's the point spread right now? 7? 7.5? Has it settled?
It opened at UConn 8.5.
I thought it opened 6.5, but then got up to like 8.5.
Well, when I saw it, I was at 8.5. So maybe it opened at 6.5. Let me see. The line's currently UConn -7, over under 131.5.
So 131.5, that's like 67, 65. I kind of like the over too, even though they're two good defensive teams.
Yeah, I got to say I like the over there.
I think I like the over. That 7.5 feels right on. I know the UConn's won every game by double digits, but I think San Diego State plays them a little closer. I'll go over. Give me San Diego State with a little backdoor cover. I think they'll scrap and lose this game by 6 or 7 points. Dale Webb, trade for Amari Cooper. I mean, if he's available, I'd be interested. I don't think the Browns will move him, but yeah, I mean, good player. Good route runner. Appreciate the super chat. All right, guys, we're going to sign off here. Shout out to producer Sam. Enjoy the game tonight. We have videos every single day, just about. Really do have daily videos. We're live every Monday as well. Little teaser, though. We'll not be live next Monday. At least I won't. Maybe someone else will do it if they just feel like doing it. Between now and next Monday, my son's going to be born. So, hey, a little clap on the back if you want to give me a round of applause. But any good vibes are appreciated. But no live next week. We'll still have some videos that go out while I'm out. But in general, every Monday, just not next Monday.
Harrison, I have to ask, what are you most looking forward to as a dad, and what are you least looking forward to as a dad?
Let's get the least out of the way first. Probably the
fucked up sleep schedule.
Yeah, I think that's probably the obvious one, at least at first, is having to deal with the sleep challenges. But everything else I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I'm even excited to like just do like the silly chores you have to do, like the diaper stuff. That probably sounds dumb, but I just think that's part of the process. So that's
how I know you're going to be a good dad, because I don't think anyone would have said that that's the part that they're looking forward to.
Look, I'm not excited to change diapers. I just think like, hey,
sure,
listen, it's something you got to do. It's equal responsibility on both the parents.
You guys heard it in the chat. Harrison's a big diaper guy.
I'm excited to watch sports with him, even when he's an infant and
that's
doesn't know what the hell's going on.
That's actually the correct answer. I'm excited to make him a fan of my favorite teams.
I'm excited to watch him, or to watch the Chiefs win another Super Bowl with him. How about
That's a good one. That's a good one. We can get him in studio. I think the correct answer is I'm excited to make him a fan of all the sports teams that I'm a fan of.
Jared says, them butt changes are no joke. Lots of congrats coming in. Appreciate it, fellas. Austin, do you think we're going to trade for D-Hop? If they do, it'll probably be while I'm out. So someone else will be breaking down that trade.
Tatum said clip this and send this to Hannah. I think I could chop it up real quick.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Appreciate the love and support. More videos this week, even when I'm out next week as well. So shout out to the real one. Subscribe. We'll see you guys soon.